Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Before we get started on today's video, I just wanted to quickly mention that once a month I send out a studio newsletter where I share some behind the scenes of what's happening in my studio, as well as some tips and inspiration to help you in your creative journey. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm gonna put the link in the description below. And otherwise, let's get started on today's video. Good morning or afternoon or evening or whatever time it is where you are. Welcome. I wanted to run through my favorite technique for creating collage layers with you. And I've hit on this before in some previous videos, but I want to walk you through it one more time because I think it's just kind of such a great technique and it's so easy to do. So I have a piece of tracing paper here. You can also use tissue paper. Basically, it's just a thin piece of paper. It's a real lightweight, so we have to be a little bit more careful with this, but that's what I'm going to use, and I'll show you some examples of how this is going to turn out. So in this piece of artwork that I created, I have all these different elements, different designs going on, and I wanted to add another layer, but I was a little bit afraid to commit to that. So what I did was paint it pink on top of a piece of this tracing paper, and then once it was dried, I ripped it out and then added it on top. And what you can see is that the background becomes transparent and anything underneath can kind of show through, but then the pink kind of just blends in naturally. So I really like how that one turned out. So same idea here with this journal page. All these black and white marks here were done on tracing paper. I tore that out and then just glued it down to this page. I did the same for this text. So you can see how anything underneath, how I worked with some watercolor here, the colors and shapes kind of come through, but your text can still be legible on top. So I think that's really neat. And then here in my journal, see if I can find the page. So I certainly have used this method in here. Yep. Okay, so here I did the same thing, except I had some extra paint one day, so I just painted on top of the tracing paper. So this green and this green here were done in the same way. I just tore it once it was dry, glued it down, and then just blended it in with everything else that's going on this page. The same technique is done with this black scribble. Here you can see I didn't use quite as much glue, so it's not quite as transparent as it sometimes can be, but that's okay. And then same thing here with this text. It looks as if I wrote directly on the page, but I didn't because I mess up a lot. So I like to do it on the tracing paper and then transfer it just like this. So those are a couple of examples. And now I'm just going to show you how easy this is to do. Let me move these off to the side here. Okay, so there's so many different ways to do this. So just regular kind of cheapy paint you can use. Posca pens. I have these new from Christmas. I got these creative markers from Sharpie, which are great. So I'm going to use some of those. Here's just some white paint. So as usual, I go pretty inexpensive here. So let's start off with, let's start off with the Posca pen. So this is like a fluorescent yellow, as you can see. And I'm just gonna make some marks. And so because you're working on this thinner paper, just be prepared. It might buckle and move a little more than usual. So you kind of just have to get used to that. So, I mean, it's as easy as this. So I could just do a whole page of these lines if I wanted to. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of those videos that I'm going to need to fast forward because this is going to become very boring very quick for you. And what I sometimes do, so let me get this little section done here, but you can kind of do this by section. So if I do this bit here, down below I can do like a different shape or something. I just want to take a moment too and say this can be very therapeutic. I feel like I'm rushing right now because I want to squeeze all these elements in. So I'm just going to take a moment and take a breath and slow down a little bit and kind of just get into it. Okay, you can put some music on, do whatever you need, get comfortable in your chair while you're doing this. Put on a book on tape if you're into that and listen to it, an audiobook. Okay, there we go. So And it's just pretty simple. And then maybe here I'll make a different design. Something like that. And the idea here is that you can, you can just cut out one of these if you want, or maybe your piece is bigger and you can cut a larger chunk. You can use this in just so many different ways. Okay, and then maybe I'll just do some circles here. And again, this is a wonderful opportunity to explore some different mark making techniques. And I say techniques, but I just want to say that it's basically just trying different things out. I mean, you're not getting fancy about any of this. You're seeing what happens when you, oops, see, now that ripped, and that's okay. I'm just going to keep going. Just try some different things out. You're going to make mistakes. It's all good. This is something anyone can do. Kids can do this. Older people can do this. I think this would be a really kind of fun activity. Okay. Okay, so you're seeing as I'm doing this circle, because I'm kind of going in different directions, it's really, I have to be a little bit more careful because the paper's so thin. Whoop. Okay. So there you go. I'm going to set that aside, move on to my next. And this time let's do some paint. So, gosh, I use this fluorescent pink a lot. And what I like to do is just use the cap. And I just have a thin paintbrush here. Same thing, just going to go ahead and make some marks. Let's see. Go this way. This one I'm not even really pulling down, I'm just dabbing. I'm pretty sure this paintbrush got glued, the bristles got glued together because I'm not good at washing out my brushes. And so we're just gonna do it this way. And you know what, I'm gonna start going over here and then leave that extra space for maybe a longer line or something. Okay, this begins the first step of me. I'm going to fast forward for you guys so you don't get too bored, but I just want to emphasize that when you're doing this yourself, go slow, enjoy the therapeutic process of making the same mark over and over again, okay? All right, I'm going to get some music going and I'll meet you back here in just a second. Should mention is a lot of this thinner paper has a shinier side and a more matte side. I usually make my markings on the matte side. I just find it works out a little bit better for me. All right, now that all of my pages are dry, I can stack them up and see how lovely they look. Very colorful and fun. And then what I usually like to do next is cut them, just divide it up into the different patterns that I've created. It just makes it a little easier for me to work with in the future. This is also a great technique if you are traveling and you want to create some collage work while you're out and about. You can create these smaller sheets and then easily bring those along. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all of these up. And just to show you how I apply these, I have a journal page here that is incomplete, but clearly I've got a good start on it. And so I'm just going to take some of my tissue paper collage sheets and either cut them or tear them and glue them down. And today I am just using PVA glue to glue these down. I sometimes use a matte medium, which is a little thinner, and I think it allows the paper to become a little more transparent when you use it. The PVA glue works great as well. It's just you don't quite get the clear background like I mentioned earlier, but it does a good job. And I'm pretty liberal with the glue. I will glue underneath, of course, and then a little bit on top just to make sure everything's laying nice and flat. And you can keep these pieces whole, or you can rip them down even further or cut them. If you need more ideas about how to use these, I have loads of videos related to art journaling and collage work in general where I incorporate these kinds of papers, so you can find those easily, and I'll put a link below as well. It's pretty fun seeing all these layers come together and kind of just work together. Even though they're all very different, I just love seeing them all come together. And then this will, of course, create a great foundation on this journal page for some text or maybe some more paint or other layers on top of this. So just do what feels good for you. And as usual, if you have any questions, you can always leave a comment below and I will get back to you. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing if you're enjoying these videos. And let me know what you enjoy watching. It helps the algorithm, it helps people find my channel, and yeah, I would really appreciate hitting that subscribe button and leaving a comment below. Leave it here for now. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all are doing well. Keep creating and have a beautiful, luscious day today. Cheers.